Well, good morning. This is Suzanne Hanifin with Acumen Executive Search, the founder and the president. And I am here today with the lovely Tanis Morris. And Tanis had this brilliant idea to start a podcast. And I kind of wanted to go from the very beginning of what were your thoughts. We'll kind of dive into what we're hoping for here, what our end goal, and to hear more about Tanis and her story.
Great. Well, truthfully, I love podcasts. I listen to them all the time. I find them so informative and actually, interesting and empowering, and have helped me think about, my work or my life or myself in all these different ways. So, and then, everyone under the sun is starting a podcast these days. But I felt like we had some really impactful stories to share. The work that we do at Acumen is really impressive and exciting. And I think it makes, if you stop and think about it, the stories of bringing powerful, impactful leaders to organizations are really the stories of how businesses grow. And so I wanted to share those stories and share them through the lens of what a tool this is to make your community better, make your organization better, to grow as a person. And so, hiring for good is really all of these different aspects of what it means to join a team and make the company better, grow as a person, help your community, hopefully, and learn in the process. So that's my vision. We're going to do it together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned hiring for good, because hiring for good, the connotation is greater than yourself. And I would love to hear how your journey and your background and how you ended up at Acumen, because I think this is a perfect example of hiring for good.
Yeah, well, so I have a very non-traditional background to be in this role and to be in this world, but it's working out pretty well so far, I would say. But my early career was in startups, and I can't say enough good things about the experience of working for a small organization and getting to do a ton of different jobs and really learn a lot of different aspects of what it takes to make an organization grow or even just survive. Startups are kind of about survival in the beginning. And then, so the experience of working in that world was just so formative for me. And not only did I work there, but my husband worked in that world as well. So at the time that I had my first child, I was the director of sales and marketing for a little scrappy startup that was starting to really get some traction and grow and scale. And I was thinking that I would just go right back to work, but I realized after, I think that my thought was my first conference, the baby will be 6 weeks old, so that'll be great, because that's when people go back to work. And I had no idea that you really, at least I was unable to run a national sales campaign and have an infant child. So I remember I was talking to my boss. He's like, I think we have to kind of confront the fact that you're not coming back. And I said, I feel like you're breaking up with me. But, that relationship continues on to this day. But I did stop working, and I took time to be with my kids. And then I think I'm just such a business grower. I did some consulting over the years, and then that kind of morphed into writing. So I started out doing biz dev and marketing consulting, and then that sort of segued into writing marketing copy. And then that kind of moved into doing a lot of different writing over the years. So I wrote for magazines and the local newspaper, and I wrote proposals for businesses and grants and RFP, all different kinds of writing. And so that was great. It was a really nice way to kind of keep doing some work, but get to be home with my children while they were growing up. And my husband at the same time has experienced a lot of really fascinating growth in his career. So he's had a number of different exits and sort of moved through all of these different corporate iterations of a business, from startup to, middle market to a big, huge corporation. He's kind of had some a fascinating trajectory in his own right, and I've really been on that ride with him, and have learned a lot from that experience as well, even though I was kind of more of a bystander. When I decided to be truthful, when my kids were all teenagers, I was like, get me out of here. I was like, I can't be around these, they're not nice anymore, So I started looking for a team to join, and I joined an organization as a writer. But, all of these years of not only doing this consultative work, but also being a leader in community organizations, being an elected government official, a different work that I've done, I found that I wasn't really able to just shut up and write. I wanted to, help steer the ship a little bit. So a leader from that organization had introduced me to a friend of hers who had a small search firm that specifically worked with nonprofits. And that lovely lady offered me a job running a division of her business. And I accepted. I was excited to do the work. But then as we were talking and actually negotiating back and forth, she came back to me and she said, okay, she said, I'm going to rescind my offer because I want to have a conversation with you. And I was like, okay, I'm all ears. And when we talked the next time, she said, my job offer stands and we would love to have you come and work for us. But I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I think I would be doing you and the world a disservice if I didn't introduce you to my very good friend, Suzanne Hanifin. And Suzanne has this, very successful executive search firm. They do all of this work in bioscience and in, high level thought leadership. So she's kind of describing you and your business. And inside of myself, I was like, oh, wow, that sounds really good. But I had, built a business plan for this other company, and I really, really liked and appreciated this leader so much. So I was like, well, I will meet Suzanne. Of course I would love to meet her. But I know I can do this mission for you. And she said, okay, well, go ahead and meet Suzanne. And I don't know what she said to you about me, but we met shortly after. And then I wrote her back after I met you, and I said, I'm not going to lie. I said, kind of like a dream come true. And when you and I met, I've almost felt like I was being punked, because you, if I recall, in our first meeting, you said, well, do you like to drink wine? So do you like to go on vacation? We all take a vacation to the sun and I was like, what? Are you serious? I'd get to do all of these things. And then the responsibilities that you had envisioned for the way that my role would work at your company was so perfectly aligned with exactly what I love to do and my skill set that it's just been like a gift. I'm going to cry. I love my job. I'm so happy to be working.
Well, and I'm so glad you shared that, because I think as a business owner and as a leader, it's sometimes taking a chance. I mean, when Agnes, Zach, and we can...
I wasn't sure if I could say her name or not. Yes, Agnes, she's amazing. We should bring her on. She's fabulous.
Give her a little plug. When she reached out to me, she said, I know you're not hiring, but I found your next person. Uh-huh. And sometimes when you don't expect something and this gift is delivered to you, it's like shame on you for not accepting the gift. And I tell you, I love that story in this podcast on hiring for good, because it is about taking that chance sometimes. And you've now been with Acumen a whole whopping 7 months.
Yeah, 7 months. Yeah, I think we're 7.
But the impact that you can make, not just to Acumen, but all these organizations, and more importantly, about the people and that connection. And you talked about the connection of the alignment between goals, mission, vision. Yeah, I didn't have a job available. We figured it out.
Yeah.
Because fit is critical. So again, 7 months, taking a chance. What do you see the next 7 years looking like?
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I've gotten that far.
Let's break it down maybe next year.
Yeah. I mean, so I feel like I'm just getting going in this job. It has been really fun. For me, I love to meet people. I love to learn, and I love to help. And to get to just go out and talk to the owners of different organizations or the leaders of those organizations and understand how they're growing their businesses, what challenges they're facing, where they're looking to grow, and then like kind of how leadership meshes with all of those different elements is just so, I'm learning so much. So I think no matter what I'm doing in this role, I will always be learning. It's just like I can't get enough of it. So that's going to be a constant no matter what. I have big plans for the company. I feel like we're just getting going. I would like to, we've done a lot of regional placements. We've done a fair amount of out-of-state placements. I want to go nationwide. I want to continue to synergize different local organizations and regional organizations to empower everybody. And I think we're just kind of starting to do that. I'm taking on a leadership role in ACG, and I see, trying to like tap into the power of these different organizations and then, really start to help companies grow and then have us kind of serve as the leadership arm of that growth. That's what I see happening. What do you see? What's your plan?
Yeah, I think we are very closely aligned. And it's interesting, again, when you look at what we do and the impact we can make almost immediately. It is so satisfying to take that step back. And a year from now, you're going to go, wow.
Yeah.
Look at this. But I'm sure you have a story that you've seen an organization change. And it may not just be, again, the person or the organization, but the community. And you were just sharing that you came back from a public health conference. And you saw somebody that we have placed in public health. It changes everything.
Eve Gray. Yes, Eve, I hope you listen to this, and everyone should be aware of the power of Eve's leadership. So, I mean, you know better than I because you placed her before I came on board at Acumen. But Eve Gray is the Director of Health and Human Services in Lane County. And, I was at this public health conference earlier this week, and I think on probably 4 or 5 different breakout sessions, Lane County was either presenting or the topic because they're doing such innovative work. It was really interesting. So my particular presentation topic was that the future of healthcare must be collaborative in nature, and like exploring the synergies between public health, primary care, and community-based organizations. And right now, all of those kind of bodies typically have siloed, replicated efforts. And so if you can synergize, it's better. And Lane County, under Eve's leadership, is just doing a phenomenal job. They're doing some really interesting new approaches. They're using CCO funding or Medicare funding to help create a program they call Housing is Health. And they've actually ended up saving the county over $1 million a year just by using Medicaid funds to house unhoused folks and then be able to deliver the medical care that they need instead of all these people
Going to the ER
yes, or being arrested and being incarcerated. It's just been so transformative. And that is one out of like, I don't even know how many examples. In the session that I was in, we had a phenomenal leader from Lane County present after us who was discussing, just how public health has collaborated to emphasize and highlight the work of all the various CBOs. And they've created this sort of like, open forum for the CBOs to come in and share what they're doing and talk about challenges. And then the county public health is like pushing out information to the community to emphasize what's available through CBOs. That seems like it should be just, of course they are, that makes sense, but this does not happen. So it's just really fascinating. I had multiple people come up to me at the conference and be like, how did Lane County figure all of this out? I said, I'll tell you how. It's Eve. And I mean, that's doing a disservice to all the other fantastic leaders. But, you and I both know that organizational success really is a top-down thing. So if you have a fantastic person at the top that is empowering and uplifting and promoting their team, they're going to attract other great people, and they're going to allow their team to do their best work and to take the reins and go. And I think it's a great example. You can probably offer other ones. I mean,
no, but I wanted to bring that up because again, having Hiring for Good as our podcast, I think it really does show, and you said it beautifully, that it does culture, behavior, success of an organization really does start at the top. And it's not just one leader, it's a group of leaders. And it's that executive team. And we talked earlier about this alignment of goals and vision, how we had it. Yeah. And when it synergizes, it's an amazing thing. And Lane County is the perfect example of one hire changing processes, which again is reaching this bigger group of people. So.
And really, and literally benefiting their community and the world. It's like, this is a very specific example. I know we're going to talk about all different kinds of organizations, but as it so happens for this first one, we're talking about a public organization that is truly like saving lives and helping people who are suffering, find some resources and some help, or more effectively, So it's a really beautiful thing.
Absolutely. And I think that's why I love what we do, because we can affect change and big change. But it doesn't always happen that way, because sometimes it's also the small companies that can flex and change and be so nimble and dynamic that, we've also worked with those organizations that, 2 years later, 3 years later, you're like, oh my God, look at this growth. Look at this change that they've done and the excitement of that. Yeah. So it's going to be an exciting.
Oh, there's nothing more fun to talk about. I'm bothering everyone talking about like how companies grow, and to me it is just the most fascinating conversation and really fun. And I think one thing I really like about Acumen is we're not just about, a successful company isn't just a company that has a really impressive fiscal story to tell. A successful company is one that is mission driven, that we care about working with organizations that do have, a directive to make the world a better place in some way, whether it's as literal as a public health organization or as, metaphorical as maybe a bioscience company that is driven by the desire to
cure cancer.
And that's not metaphor. That's actually literal as well. It's very literal.
Say, we work with a number of those.
Yes. Let me think of a good metaphorical. I don't know. Or companies that are just like, our mission is to make our employees feel joyous to come to work. And then that ripples out into the communities they live in. If people are happy in their work lives, then that frees them up to do good in other places.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You talk about being money motivated. And there are organizations that truly are. And again, it comes from the top and the emphasis is, what does this quarter look like?
Yeah.
Where are we?
Yeah.
And then you get such opposite organizations that want to cure cancer, to change the world, to do this. And I would probably put Acumen in that
For
ladder.
sure. You told me. Yes. When I came on, I think your exact words were, if you do the right thing and help others and do good work, the money always comes. You don't need to worry about it. Yeah. I think you said almost those exact words. And
yeah. And so it was a very interesting meeting I had this morning with somebody in my industry, and we're in kind of a new networking group together. And I said, well, what is your goal for the next year? And he said, to grow revenue. And the other gentleman that I was with, I asked him, what's your goal? And he said, to build connections.
Oh.
And that,
yeah,
you can tell who I'm going to work with and who I want to work with.
Yes.
And again, the alignment of goals and mission, if it's not there, it's not a good match.
Yeah. I'm always down to make some money, but the truth is I love kind of stepping out of the traditional workforce for a while and then coming back in as a grown-up. I would say I was a grown-up-ish then, but like now I really am. And I believe so strongly that like when you help others, when you uplift and empower others, when you seek to bring value and help and do good, it all comes back to you. And so it just like changes your life to have that be the directive when you wake up. It's like, what can I do to like help others? If I start to get anxious, like, oh, I don't know if I have stuff happening, I will pick up the phone and start to like, can I introduce you to this person? Can I help? Like, and then it all just circles back around. It's so fascinating. It's like this beautiful math equation for your life.
Well, I think that's a challenge. We should have a mathematician figure out what the
write that calculus down. Yeah. That's well.
No, I think it. Again, I think it fits beautifully on what we are hoping for this podcast, what we are hoping for ourselves, for Acumen, and the community we live in. Because if everybody, is doing things not just for them, but doing things because it is the right way and the right thing to do. Like you said, money always comes.
Yeah.
And I know that's hard when you need money to have that perspective, because we've all been there too. And but to just think bigger than yourself. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any questions or anything you want to bring up, Tanis? This is your show.
Well, it's our show, and I think if I had any question, I actually would be curious. If you don't mind, you asked me about how I came to you and you told me about what Agnes said, but what was your thought process? Because I know you weren't looking were you just like, okay, we're just going to make it happen? Because I know you get introduced to people all the time. I'm not, and then this is not me being like, toot my own horn. I'm like really legitimately curious that how you made that decision to work it out.
It was the easiest decision I ever made. I mean, that sounds silly to say, but I do talk to people. That's my job all day long is I talk with people. And they may be clients, they may be candidates, it may be networking, it may be business partners. That's my job. And when you and I sat down and as we started kind of sharing who we are, what we're hoping for, what we're looking at, everything just came crystal clear. It was unbelievable. It's like, she's not recruiting. You're in business development.
Yes, for sure. Yes.
It was crystal clear, and I've not looked back.
Okay. Well, good.
And yeah, so we talk about it because we are a women run company, women run office, we're all women, that we have intuition. And shame on us for not listening to our intuition. And when it's such an easy, no brainer. We got to do this.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
Yeah. I was really excited when I came back from meeting you and I was telling my husband about it. And then he's like, are you going to? I said, it's in the bag. I know. He's like, well, they're going to, it's a few months. You and I both say time kills all deals. And so I think my husband knows that. And he's like, well, they're waiting a little bit. I'm like, John, it's fine. It's going to work out great. I know it is. And all this stuff. I felt that same kind of way.
Yeah.
The hardest part was telling Agnes I wasn't going to work for her, which I felt, I'm sorry, Agnes. But I think she was so lovely. She said,
yeah. And again, here we are. She did the right thing. We're giving her props and saying her name over and over. So again, it comes back, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I have referred tons of business.
I have too. Yes. I have too.
So again, it's another example of looking bigger than yourself. Absolutely. Yeah. Anything else that you wanted to ask me?
What do you find to be the most gratifying part of the work that you do?
Oh my gosh. I love people. And when you see somebody so happy and excited for a new opportunity, a new, the next 5 years are open to them and it's all possibility, it feels so good. But then we come back in 6 months to a year and we always do our case studies. And that's kind of where the rubber hits the road. And because everybody goes through a honeymoon period and, everybody is like, oh, kumbaya, this is so fabulous. And it's during those case studies to where you say, what have you achieved? What does the next 6 months look like? And you get this insight and the real sense of accomplishment. And you go 6 months to a year, can you really accomplish that much? Yes. Yeah. Good leaders can. And it may be subtle or may be small, but they have, again, this vision of what tomorrow is going to look like. And that's when I go, we did our job.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that for me, this is a new industry. And like I said, I'm learning all the time. But when I had my very first contract, that I brought, and it came in pretty quick, I think I was still a little bit transactional in my mindset at that time because I was thinking like, all right, we got a contract, this guy's going to be hired and it's great. And, what a win for the company owner, to get someone great and all that. And then the candidate who we hired wrote us and he just said, I could not be more thankful. You changed my whole life. This is my dream job. I'm making, he was making a great salary, doing what he loved. And he was so thankful and so excited about his role. I mean, it was very humbling. And I realized like, oh, there's a lot more to this than just, getting a win for there's all these different moving parts to this business, and it's people. It's beautiful. It's like this beautiful way to like support company growth and like have people have great lives. It was like very humbling. I realized like there's a big responsibility here, and it's like beautiful and exciting and gratifying in a way I did not intend or understand.
And I've been doing this, Acumen's been around over 16 years.
Yeah.
I love what I do.
Yeah.
I not only change a person, a company, the community,
Yeah.
I kind of feel like we can change the world.
Yeah.
And when we are so intentional and really understand what motivates a person, what motivates an organization, and that connection and that alignment, there's nothing like it. It is pretty amazing. And, and sometimes it makes me sad because I think others in this industry take it as a transaction. How much money am I going to make? We'll throw a body in this. We don't care. This is the way it's going to go. And taking that different approach and having that different attitude, it also allows us to pick and choose our clients, which has power in that too.
Yes.
That we don't have to take it because they don't align with us and we would not be a good fit with them.
Very true.
Yeah. Have you ever had a boss that said, you don't need to take all the business?
Only you. You're the only one. Thank you. No, yeah, it's really good. Well, I guess my last question would be, what does hiring for good mean to you?
Oh, boy. There's so many connotations and different avenues you can go on hiring for good. And I think that's why I love the name of this podcast. Because, I mean, like as we were talking this last, 40 minutes or so, it is about the individual. It is about the company. It is about the community. It is about the world. And for me, bringing that change and bringing that possibility to someone and seeing them thrive and grow, there's nothing like it in the world. And I like I said, I love what we do. And so hiring for good means to me going beyond. And it's the bigger picture.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tanis.